Hi, how you doing? This is Muthu Singaram. I'm going to talk for the next 30 minutes on pre-incubation and incubation management.
I'd like you to take a minute before we start to think about what would you like to learn this morning from our presentation. Once you've thought about it, please write it down before we go to the next stage. Okay, let's continue. We'll start off with how we plan an incubator. In order to plan an incubator, you must always keep in mind it's a long-term investment for your college and the stakeholders. Therefore, effective planning is a key factor in ensuring the future success of an initiative and the return on investment for the principal stakeholders, typically your management. Therefore, before starting your incubator, you got to do three things. First, you got to do a feasibility study of the incubator you're planning to set up. Secondly, incubator needs a business plan, just like any other businesses. Thirdly, very important for your business incubator is to have proper policies in place, and these policies should be reviewed on a regular basis. Let's take each of these three key components, one after another. The first component, feasibility study planning. Why would you do this? This is to find out whether there is a need within your area, within your own college, for an incubator. And what would the incubator do? Is to understand primarily the market requirement and what startups who you will house will require from you. You need to assess this to make sure that your incubator will provide the right solutions. Component number two, you need, once you've done your feasible studies, you need to have a business plan for your incubator to see how it will raise money, how it will manage funds, how will it survive in the long term, because you will need to be self-sustainable after the initial grants or maybe from the host institution some funding to get started. Thirdly, very important is to make sure you have proper and tough and fair strict policies. The first one is how do you let people enter your incubator? What is the criteria for entrance? Secondly, you need to have proper incubation programs like incubator contracts. How would you have these contracts? They need to be framed by experts like legal, accountant, and so on. You need to have exit policies, graduation policies, and you need to have overall incubation, governance, and management in place to make sure the incubator will be able to run successfully. The initial task for the development team, that's the team which is going to start up the incubator. First, you need to reach a consensus. What are the objectives of your incubator? Why are you setting up an incubator? What is the necessity and what do you hope to achieve? Next, you need to set a time frame to do preliminary work, feasibility studies that you have described just now, how you will get this incubator created. You need to learn more about business incubation. It's a concept and how will we apply this. You need to secure resources for your feasibility studies. Who's going to fund it? Most likely your management to get you started. And then you need to start implementing this feasible study and then make decisions to get into the next phase of the incubator to start setting up the incubator. So this is basically what you really need to do. While you're doing all this, you need to attend programs, maybe online training resources, where you learn how to set up an incubator, just like what you're doing right now. You might want to go and visit some of the most successful incubators nearby you to get an understanding what incubators do. Next, You need to make sure you join incubator networks, go often events to learn from other successful incubators. And you need to keep up with the latest technology so you are able to build and learn capacity over the period. You need to ensure the infrastructure and facilities are proper. In order for you to get infrastructure and capacity, facilities, services, and finances. Very important. You need to make sure you have enough funding to do these, and then your resources, your funding, your sector which you're going to look at, what would be the outcome. Then you need to build and configure which part you're going to actually set these facilities up. And then you need to look at your financial feasibilities initially and also in long term. So these are important factors you need to decide. And infrastructure and facility will depend on what area of incubation you're going to specialize in. It's possibly easy to start with something which your own organization is good at. However, not many organizations have just one specific area. So you might have to start with an incubator, which is generic in nature, to allow everybody to have an opportunity to use an incubator. Now you're ready to design your incubator. You have now decided on your objectives and your focus area. So you will now design the phase according to your objectives and your focus area. The design of the incubator space is so important to ensure success. People who work from them need to be comfortable. They need to feel happy to be in the incubator. That's where you will see lots and lots of competition is in co-working spaces. People go to these places because they're cool, they're nice to work, they can get brainstorm. Look at some of the pictures we have put. One of the incubators we run, how beautifully it's designed. The design has to suit the requirement of the startups you're bringing in. You need to leverage on the design purposefully and use the space in order for you to be successful. You need to create spaces where people can work together, just chill, coffee, talk, discuss, because startup is not like other businesses. It's a lot about creativity, motivation, self-driven. So it's so important for these startups to be able to feel comfortable in all these areas. You may not be able to start a design in a very big way due to funding issues. Then you start small. You might even use your existing infrastructure, just rejigging it to be a little comfortable, like your existing labs. Then you can use some facilities, then you can spare space. And then as you build momentum, you will then have a specific area for incubation. Now, the three common words you hear, and they are different. The first one, pre-incubation, second one, incubation, and third one, acceleration. Primarily, you want to run a pre-incubation period in your incubator, 3 to 6 months, to ensure that whoever you get into the incubator have actually validated their idea, they've actually got something to work on. If they haven't, then you would be wasting a whole lot of resources and time incubating. So you would probably give them 3 to 6 months just to find out whether they want to do something they're liking, whether they're capable of doing or they're interested. Once that's happened, you start incubating them. An incubation period is probably about 36 months, where they actually will build their product and ready to go to market with initial customers. Often it will be difficult for you to do acceleration because of lack of resources. This is where they will need to join a good acceleration program, which could be anything between 3 to 6 months, mostly run by very successful entrepreneurs or industry, where it is to scale your startup. Incubator needs to have a structure just like anything else. So in India, we have three options. First, we can be society, second, a Section 8, and a trust. All three are non-profit organizations. Depending on what you're trying to do, you need to get good advice from your accountant to set up what would you like to set up. If you would like to take equity from the startup, the best structure is Section 8. If you're just going to run it without taking equity, just fee structure, then society or trust might be better. And this is something you need to discuss with your accountant, your legal team, and your management to decide which of the structures you would go. Why do you need the structure to be different from your own institution? Simply because the incubator should be run independently from academic regulations and rules. So often it is a good idea the vice chancellor, the principal of the institution, play a very minimal role just as advisors and not coming in as managers, managing the incubator. The incubator should have its own manager, should have its own staff, independent of academic staff. You will always need to have a faculty in charge to ensure there's continuity between the incubator practices and the parent institution. So there should be a bridge with the faculty in charge. However, the faculty in charge should not be the one running the day-to-day operation of the incubator. It should be managed by the incubator manager or by the CEO. Now, how do you fund your incubator? Initially, no one's going to fund you because you are not a proven entity. So you got to make best of what you do, and you got to depend on the host institution to give you some funding to get started. However, after a year or maybe 18 months, you can reach out to government fundings. There are several fundings. NFTE, DB has a fund, Artel Innovation has a fund, BioRec has a fund, Mentee has a fund, MSME has a fund, NRDC, and DST. All of them have some kind of incubation funding. But all these are for limited periods, so you need to be ready for the next part. And now you're allowed to take CSR money from local government, local industry in your own area. So it will be good for you to get connected with industry players around your own institution so they'll be able to support you. You should build a very strong alumni network and bring in industry to support your incubator so you can reach out to them for many things, not only for funding, but in terms of testing out the products, may be able to leverage on their strength using their pieces of equipment, using their contacts, and often they might even license or acquire your startups. So it's always good to ensure industry is there, right in there with you from the start. Once you have set up your incubator, you need to be able to handle the finances of the incubator. First of all, you need money to establish your incubator. I mean, without going saying, want to build a house, you need money. So you got to get that funding ready to build your incubator. Then you need to start activities. You want to do hackathons, you want to do talks, you want to do training programs. So you need money for your activities. And then you got to make sure your operations is efficient in a manner to contribute to achieve the goals you had set prior to starting the incubator. And your ultimate goal should be you are self-sustainable. You are not depending on grants nor funding from third party. When you don't depend on money from third party, the incubator is free to do its own things. When you take a grant, you got to follow the granting body's requirement. If a funder for CSR, you need to follow their objectives and goals to ensure what they want you to do. Now, you will need pre-operating expenses. That's even before you start the incubator. As I told you, you need to do some learning, you need to travel to other incubators. Next, you need money for the physical facility. You also need to buy some equipment. And then you need to have money for your human resources and general expenses like your air conditions might break down. So you need to spend money for furniture and so on. And then you need to have some reserves. If something goes wrong, you need to be able to sustain your incubator. Now, how do you generate revenue? You can charge rental from incubators, it's one model. You can do consulting, you can do royalty agreements, like with the startups, whenever they do something, they license out, they pay you some amounts. So this could be incubator generating money. And third party grants we just spoke about, government grants. There are also international government money given. Lots of world bodies like the World Bank gives grants for setting up incubators. So if you're going into some very specific area, the world bodies might be willing to give you a grant. Of course, corporate sponsorship is very, very useful and so on. So this is how you would generate and ensure that you start with a plan for at least 3 to 5 years how you're going to manage your incubator without running into financial difficulties. Now, we've already explained to you earlier grants. Obviously, if you're not a non-profit incubator, private grants will not come. Local private investors will give you if you are a for-profit. So if you are corporate responsibility, both can apply. Government subsidies will only come if you're non-profit. Multilateral programs, you will be running a whole lot of programs where it could be non-profit and profit candidates. Non-governmental organization funding mechanism is possible for non-profit. And debt financing is more for-profit incubators. And in kind can be for both. So depending on what you're trying to do, whether you're a non-profit incubator or for-profit incubator, you need to decide your funding. Now, you've got your funding, now you need to start housing these people. This is why your business plan was important, to find out how much money you need to raise before you start your incubator. You need to have an incubator manager. As I said earlier, it's important for someone independent to run the incubator. So that's extremely, extremely important. You need somebody who can take care of training, and you need someone who is reasonably talented in technology to help your startups. You need someone who can handle finances, and if you're going to have residential programs, then you need to have someone who will take care of logistics. But that's not very crucial, and there isn't, to my knowledge, any residential programs in India. So that might be an opportunity for some incubators to get into. Now, other people who are required to run or you need support is administration. This can be outsourced. You can have financial accountants, legal, HR, IT, all this can be outsourced. Your facility management and ICT infrastructure can come from the host institution. You need to be able, through your managers, the incubation manager, the staff, be able to provide with your startups quality business development services. You've got to give them good quality offers and infrastructure, which I already emphasized at the start of my talk. You need to be able to guide them how to market their products. You need to look at your stakeholders. You need to have a PR campaign so your incubator is always upfront, that people in the community know what you're doing. It's important to have digital marketing running, maybe your own Twitter account, your Facebook, your LinkedIn profiles, your websites, regular attending other network functions to introduce, to promote your incubator. You need to be able to plan, report, monitor, and evaluate all your startups. So all this requires people. Now, besides giving physical infrastructure, which we keep talking about, we need to be able to give them good mentoring, which I will talk later in the program, how mentoring should work. You need to give them both technology and business mentoring. You need to give them legal support in terms of filing the infrastructure and so on. Very, very important. You need to provide them with legal support in terms of IP and regulatory services. Most startups don't have a clue about their IP filings, IP, intellectual property filings. They don't know about regulatory until it's too late. All this needs to be in place at the very start. You need to give them guidance in terms of how they can hire HR, financial management. You need to link them with industry contact. They should be able to access funds. You should be able to guide them which types of funds are available. We are very fortunate in India. There are hundreds of funds available out there through government and often corporate funding. So you need to be able to get all that in place. You need to be able to teach them how to scale up, to support them, and most important is to be able to network them with the right people. Now let's talk about one of the most important elements of incubation. It's a mentoring program, and what are the key success factors? It's very important to have a proper setup on terms of mentoring. We need to be able to distinguish between the roles of mentor and others. So there are generally 4 types of roles people play. One is called counseling. Counseling is primarily to correct somebody from doing something wrong. So it's a corrective measure. A manager primarily just gives work and monitors them how they're doing. A coach is primarily one who inspires and motivates, like a football coach. It's one. to many, where they motivate the team. Mentoring is primarily instruction and guiding. It's more sharing. It's generally one-to-one. You will need all four of them in place. However, you need to give them the right one of these. So what we have done here is coaching is generally given to young people, management for people who work, and counseling for people who are having problems. And generally entrepreneurs require mentoring. And one step we call it coaching, coach, coachee, mentor, mentee, manager, managee, counselor, counselee. So these are the terms used. So this we need to distinguish between the four roles, but primarily incubator's role would be playing the mentor role. What is mentoring? It's a Latin word. It says to endure is to share your experience with somebody else. A mentor may at times provide coaching depending on what's required. Coaching is specific and tightly focused, just like football. You don't give them cricket training, you give them football coaching. So it's important, and sometimes you give them training work related as well. Mentoring is a way of offering support and advice to someone as a person and may touch on any aspect of their life. Elements of mentoring. First, we need to get this recruit. Then we need to screen them. We need to train even our mentors because mentors need to know what they have to do. After that, we have to match them between a mentee and mentor. Then we should provide them mentoring support, checking on them. Finally, closure. This is the elements. There are two types of mentoring. One is natural, which we all get from friends, teachers, counselors, and so on. The other is called a structured program. This is what we're going to talk about. Mentoring programs help startups to market faster. This is why they're becoming important. They're important because they increase the survival rate. They help you accelerate learning. They also help you build confidence. And it's a great sounding board. So someone you can speak to and find out how to make progress. A mentor doesn't make decisions for you. You will have to make those decisions. How does it work? First of all, we match them depending on what they require. Mentors are usually from varied backgrounds. The mentor is usually short informally or formally. You could have a formal agreement or an informal arrangement with a mentor. Now, mentoring is needed for the following reason. Mentors can be expert or they can be role models. What do? We already said this now. They help in learning new skills, they increase achievement rate, they also help you with self-confidence and self-esteem. It is one to one, not one to many. It's always one to one. What are programs currently available? Education programs have been going on for years. You would have heard even our Gurukul system, where a senior will lead the junior. Career counseling, they call it. But career mentoring is what you need to do. Personal development. Many of these fine CEOs around the world have mentors to guide them. And now we're talking about startup. It's venture mentoring is what you need to focus. And there are 6 types of mentor-mentor relationships. It can be open, that means everybody knows about it. Closed, only you and the mentor knows. It can be public or it can be private. So the public, everybody knows we're getting mentored. Private is just between the two of us. Let me correct what I said about open or closed. Open, you can speak about anything. And closed, you can only speak about specific topics you agreed. So what I said earlier was not correct. Public is where everybody knows. Private is between you and the mentor. It can be formal and it can be informal. Formal means you have an agreement, you clear out what all will be done, what is your responsibility, and what is the mentor's responsibility. Most often it's informal, just people agree and start mentoring. But in this incubation mentoring, it should be a formal agreement so everyone knows their role. Now, what does a mentor do? They help you to understand social behavior, they help you to understand how an organization works, they promote learning, they explore different and conflicting ideas, they make you understand office politics, which you may not be able to understand. And a mentor should look at a company as a whole and not just the technopreneur or the entrepreneur. He needs to balance because his whole idea is to help the company. For technopreneurs, the company is everything. So we need to ensure that the guidance, mentoring is given to the company's interest. And the mentor's approach should be must learn the business in terms of operation. He needs to understand what the mentee is doing. Mentor has to have good assessment of the mentee's relationship with his own company. Mentor should know about the relationships and investors involved in the business. Now, mentor's approach should be only people with complex experience in wide areas should be taken as mentors. We should not take anyone as a mentor. A mentor should be checked out, should see what skills they bring to the table, because we do not want just a good time talk. We want results. The question is always whether the technopreneur will be able to lead the company to the next stage. So often the mentor's role is very important to guide them. Mentors must identify external forces, their culture, goals, and business processes to help them. Now, how does another important part besides mentoring is networking for your incubator. We need to conduct events such as hackathons, workshops on a regular basis, seminars, expert calls to help. You need to do reach outs to bring in others into your system, bring in expert talkers, seminars, look at other organizations, and you need to be able to decide the logistics and partnerships and the means you provide during these events. How will you do? You need to form partnerships with investors, with industry experts, institutions, and local government. You need to identify resource persons to coordinate and follow up your partnership, and you need to be able to connect with technical officers, business, and legal professionals to ensure that your organization is running well, because all this support is required by the.
That concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time. I'm always happy to share with you. I'm happy to come to your institutions to talk about incubation, entrepreneurship, startups, as I've been working on this for the last 25 years. You can contact me via email, which is muthu.singaram@vibrazone.com. My mobile number is 97909 and you can pick up my books at Amazon if you keep my name Muthu Singaram. Once again, thank you very much for listening to me. Stay safe, stay at home. Hope to catch up with you another time. Thank you.